young Catholics feel so much pressure to have their entire life figured out, to have their discernment figured out, to have all the things in place. Welcome back to episode 128 of the What's the Dill podcast, the place where we answer the most viral questions about Catholic life. I'm your host, Pete Dill. As you can see, we got a little bit of a better setup. I told you last week we were going to have a better setup. I got these lights, got these glowy guys behind me, got the microphone, the plant, the guitar. And for all of you people who are just like absolute Sherlock Holmeses, switch the plant and the guitar. You know me, I'm always just trying to level up the set. So I love this new look. I think the blue is pretty nice. I'm trying to figure out the lighting. Lighting is always really touchy, really kind of hard to master in production. A little behind the scenes. I don't know if people care about the behind the scenes for podcasts and production, video production stuff, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's part of me. Lighting is kind of like the thing that lighting takes videos from good to great. Bad lighting takes good videos down to bad, great videos down to good. So this lighting, trying it out, I like it. Appreciate you all being here. Thank you for checking in, watching, sharing this episode, being a part of this What's the Dill community. And we have a great question today. We have a great topic today. Today we're going to talk about vocations and how do I know where God is calling me? And what does that mean for all of us? Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because last week in our Catholic Church was National Vocation Awareness Week. You know, you went to Mass. I'm sure someone talked about it, whether you're a priest, a deacon, a seminarian. Someone came up and was talking about vocations. But what does this mean? How do we know where God's calling us? And what does it mean for us, even if you've already vocated, even if you've already discerned vocation? And I want to contrast this to like the times. How does the culture make decisions? How do we make decisions? How does the culture say we should make decisions? So in our culture nowadays, we're always looking for answers. What should we do? What's the next thing? And what does our culture rely on? Astrology signs, self-help books, personality tests. Now, the last two serve a purpose. Astrology signs, don't really serve a purpose and aren't true. Sorry to break it for all of you that maybe are into that, but astrology is not true. It doesn't serve any purpose, and we shouldn't be doing it as Catholics. But, we're looking for answers, and we try to take tests or read things and try to figure out stuff about ourselves of what we should do in our lives, who we should date, what job we should take, where we should live, the things we should get involved with, the communities we're a part of. What do we do? How should we do it? We're always looking for signs, information. When we're trying to discern what God wants for our lives, it's often best to go to the source, ask God, pray to God. He's going to reveal stuff about ourselves, but in the long run, it's about how we serve God, how we can know God more, and how we can best serve God with our life by knowing God more. So the question today is, how can I know and how do I know if God is calling me to married life, religious life, becoming a priest, becoming a religious sister? Vocations and discernment vocations is a really, really daunting task and daunting topic for a lot of young Catholics. And the world is filled with quick fixes, filled with self-help, filled with things that are trying to be the solution to all of your problems. And discernment of our vocations it's like not a quick fix. It's not something you can say, let me just close my eyes for like 5 seconds. All right, I'm discerned. I'm going to be a priest. Like, it doesn't work like that. And there's so many pressures on young people nowadays, and particularly there's so many pressures on young Catholics nowadays. And I think the pressures that we put on ourselves, I might be aging out of the young Catholic world, but young Catholics feel so much pressure to have their entire life figured out, to have their discernment figured out, to have all the things in place, okay, I'm discerned. Now I got to go to the seminary, or now I got to get married. I got to find the right wife. I got to do those things. I have to have it all figured out by a certain age because, as Catholics, we try to be intentional with our choices, our communities, our vocations. And so we make decisions. Like people, we discern, we take action. And that sometimes can put downward pressure on younger Catholics to sometimes feel, oh my gosh, I'm 25. I don't have any, I don't have any girls that I can ask out on dates. I don't know if I should be a priest. My other friends are married already. My one friend has a kid, or I'm 30 years old. All of my friends are married. All of my friends have kids. My other friends are priests. My other friends are religious. I'm doing nothing. I feel all this pressure. I need to have it figured out. We could put so much pressure on ourselves to figure it out. And I remember when I was younger, like the intensity of like this like decision, like my vocation. And I was like 22 years old. I was in the Philippines doing some service work, and I took a Lent to discern my life, but discern vocation. It was brought on to me that guys I was living with, like, hey, why don't you do like a discernment prayer, a discernment season with us during this Lent, and like pray intentionally about your discernment. And I was like, okay, sure, I'm 22. I don't really know what I want out of my life, but I'll do these prayers. And it was through the Ignatian prayers, which was the Ignatian spirituality prayers, which is great. I'm sure some of you have done them. It's very introspective, praying, scripture and looking back at your life and imagining your funeral and what are people saying about you, and really powerful meditations. And for me, I got great advice, and I pass this advice on to all of you. And even if you've already discerned, this is still relevant. God is calling us in our discernment of a vocation not to make the lifelong decision right now, but to take the next step. So if you're trying to discern if you should join a religious order or become a priest, God's not calling you to be a priest today. God's calling you to enter seminary for the next year. And in that next year, you're going to have more discernment about the next year. And in that next year, you're going to have more discernment about the next year. God's never calling us to make the lifelong decision right now. He's calling us to make the next step. And in that, there's freedom. So what I was feeling in the Philippines was, wow, I need to make these huge choices. What should I do? I'm feeling this pressure. Should I discern? Should I not? I'm taking this discernment season. But what the wisdom I got during that season and what I got during the prayer was God's just calling me to take the next step. So in that, what I was discerning was not, should I become a religious brother or become a priest? I was discerning, should I stay another year in the Philippines and make a commitment to this brotherhood that I was living with? That was the discernment. As I was brought through that season, I discerned that, yeah, I'm going to go home to New Jersey. I'm not going to take another year and like make a commitment to this religious like life just for 1 year. I felt like, no, that's not what God's calling me to do. And that was that step. What came clearer was, that was also like my kind of discernment out of religious life. I kind of discerned really deeply. After I was like, okay, that was also God saying, hey, I actually think I'm discerned for marriage. I did a little bit more prayer and discernment, but I had that big moment of saying, should I spend another year here, make a commitment to this religious life? And and God opened the door and said, or shut the door and said, no, that's not for you. I have a different plan for you. Our, vocations are in small bits and pieces. And even when we discern, like I'm married, obviously my discernment period is over, my vocation never stops. Our vocations are actually the vehicle of how God draws us closer to him, how God makes us holy. So why is this important? It's important because vocations are not about self-discovery. Vocations are about understanding God's will for our lives. God has so much mercy and grace and goodness towards us that the path is going to be fun, the path is going to be good, but vocation is not about saying, okay, now I need to make sure I'm completely, this is all about me. It's like, no, it's about how can I serve God with my life? How can I lay down my life for God in a married capacity or in a religious capacity? So it's very important. And again, like God is making us holy through our vocations. So one thing we also need to remember, and I think the most important thing about the discernment is not just like pondering about discernment, but bringing it to prayer, going before the Eucharist, going to your room, locking your door and praying about this, talking with people you trust about your discernment, but praying about it. That's going to be the first step, praying about it. And that's going to be very, very important. So if you're discerning your vocation, should you join a religious life? Should you be married? Having a season where you're discerning it, you have to make sure you're bringing it to prayer. But also, as you're praying, after you're praying, while you're praying, you need to be taking action. Because remember, God's calling us to take the next step, not make the whole decision. So if you're feeling like, I really think I should join the seminary, I don't know, should I be a priest? God called me a priest. God called me a priest. God called me a brother. Should I be a priest? Should I be a priest? Should I be a priest? Well, talk to a vocations director. You're thinking about joining this seminary? Talk to a vocations director. He's telling you to discern, to pray. Join the seminary for a year. It's not a lifelong commitment. Join the seminary for a year. You can always leave, but make a decision. You're discerning married life. You think, maybe I feel like I can be married. Take a girl out on a date. Ask a girl out on a date. Now that's harder than talking to someone about it. That's harder than talking to someone about I'm thinking I should be married and what should I do? Who's the right girl? It's harder to actually have a girl in your life to ask out and say, I want to take you out on a date. So take action. So discerning your vocation, bring it to prayer first and foremost. Second, take action. And then third, let's remember that vocation, both discerning our vocation and then living out our vocation, is not as much about deciding what the right thing to do is, but responding to the call of God. Our vocation is not deciding what the right thing to do is, but it's responding to a call from God. And I think that's where we have to train our ear. That's why we have to pray about it. That's why we have to get good counsel. That's why we have to take action, because we have to hear God's call for us. And he's going to speak to you about this. And he's going to give you feelings and thoughts about it. When you take a girl out, you say, whoa, I really like this girl. And this is great. Or maybe you start dating a girl really seriously and you're going, whoa, this feels so off. I feel like God really wants me to maybe join the seminary. We have to respond to these calls. So it takes the pressure off of us and saying we have to do the right thing, and just says we're just responding yes to God. We're saying yes to God. That's what vocation is all about, saying yes to God. You don't have to figure it out perfectly. God has figured it out for you. You just have to say yes. You just have to respond to the call. And there's going to be little call after little call after little call enough to go. And me, I'm now 5+ years marriage, couple kids, still living out my vocation. My vocation is the main way that God has drawn me closer to him. I have more opportunities to be holy in my vocation as a dad and a husband than anywhere else times 100. The recipe to be holy is really played out in vocations. So that's important to remember, is that we're responding yes by discerning our vocation, but we're also responding yes by living out our vocation day by day by day by day. So, in a world that is saying, hey, take these tests, figure more out about yourself, look at your sign. What does your horoscope say? No. What you should do with your life is to tune your ear to God's voice and to listen to the shepherd who's going to tell you what the greatest plan for your life is, and to say yes to that. And we have to do it through prayer, wise counsel, staying free from sin. And our vocation is not only going to bring us our greatest opportunities for holiness, but also going to bring out a lot of joy in our life. I think it's really important. I wanted to make this episode to kind of talk about vocations, and it's really applicable for all of us. It's applicable for me, applicable for you, applicable for all of you out there. And there's so many models in our church. You can look left and right and see people who are living out their vocation, deciding their vocation. Any state of life that you're in right now in your vocation, you can share that with someone. And if you're struggling, reach out to someone who's in the same stage of life you. Maybe they can help you. Reach out to someone who's maybe a couple steps ahead of you in their vocation to get some guidance. Talk to some trusted confidants, trusted people in your life to help you figure out what you should do, or to help you figure out how you should keep living out your vocation. So it's really important. And I feel passionately about it because I think, I've been so convicted by my vocation as a married man and how that's kind of drawing me in holiness, kind of the easiest way to draw me in holiness and closer to Christ. So really important topic. For all of you out there, reach out, tell me your stories of vocations. Tell me how you discerned. Did you discern? Did you feel good, bad, weird, strange, fun about it? Are you religious life? Are you married? Are you single? Tell me your discernment. I'd love to hear your discernment, story. That's going to be it for me today. I hope you all have a great week. Hope y'all reach out to me. Tell me your stories. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast episode with someone you think would like it. That's it, y'all. Talk to you soon. Peace. Bye.